Many thanks for watching. This is still Breakfast Central on News Central. Well, don't forget you can follow us on social media at the News Central TV, Instagram, Facebook. And if you're outside Nigeria, feel free, head to Twitter. Speaking of which, and that's why we're bringing on, yes, Lizzie Musa this morning to tell us what's the latest on Trend Wave. Lizzie, morning to you. And it involves Twitter, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, Olisa. Good morning. How are you? Okay, so now it's not every time we get to see the founder or CEO of a company step down at the peak of their careers. But this is exactly what happened yesterday when Jack Dorsey, the co-founder of the popular micro-blogging site and social media platform Twitter, announced his resignation quite unexpectedly. So he made this in a post which he quoted with, "Not sure anyone has heard, but I resigned." You can see that on the screen. And after this post, went out, Twitter users were utterly shocked and confused as many wondered what could have led to this. However, Jack in his resignation email says that he has decided to leave Twitter because I believe the company is ready to move on from its founders. My trust in Parag as Twitter's CEO is deep. His work over the past 10 years has been transformational. I am deeply grateful for his skill, his heart, and his soul. It is his time to lead. Now, Dorsey, who, as we know, co-founded Twitter and has served as its CEO for the past 18 years, announced his immediate retirement with the Chief Technology Officer, Parag Agrawal, taking his position. Dorsey will continue to lead its digital payment platform known as Square consecutively. Now, with Jack's departure, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is the lone remaining founder of a major Silicon Valley firm to continue as CEO. We remember that the Amazon CEO, Jeff Bezos, recently stepped down, and Google's founders have also handed up the reins. Now, when it comes to Twitter, Jack Dorsey, and Nigeria, Dorsey has not quite been in the good books of the Nigerian government since October 2020 over allegations that he was complicit in the promotion of the End SARS protest that ended in the destruction of lives and billions of properties of Nigerian people. Now, the site has gone on to be indefinitely banned by the government since June 5, 2021. Although the president's speech on the 1st of October stated that this ban will be lifted, it is still restricted as of now. As for the, stepping down, let's take a look at some of the reactions since he stepped down yesterday. And that is one reaction from Alpha. Alpha says, "Thank you, Mr. Jack Patrick Dorsey, for your services. You've brought big revolution and innovation in social media. Twitter is intellectual." Absolutely, I agree with that. And Twitter will always be termed as a professional application with a great community. Good wishes from Pakistan. And that's a remark from Jeremy as well. Jeremy says, "What Twitter has accomplished in the last few years has been remarkable. It's become a much more complete source of information, audio, visual, and text. It will be fascinating to see how new leadership takes on the concept of censorship as well as coming artificial intelligence. Best wishes to you and to Twitter."
Well, Liz, this is clearly big news around the world.
Absolutely, the biggest news, if I may say so
and you
myself.
pointed out the relationship between Jack Dorsey and Nigeria and vis-a-vis the Nigerian government and the Twitter ban. Maybe perhaps we might get a comment from Abuja. You never know.
It might be a Christmas gift
like Mohammed might release something. You never know.
So we're definitely looking out for that. I know what's funny. Some people were saying the Nigerian leaders will come and say it's because of them that he's probably stepping down.
Really?
There have been different remarks about that ever since this.
So it's a case of part of the co-founders just moving on, right? No, is it like no scandal or perhaps
According to him, he says that he feels that companies that have to depend on their founders, right, to, lead. He doesn't believe in that concept. So according to him, there's a lot of talk about the importance of a company being founder-led, and he believes that is severely limiting.
Okay.
That's what he says.
Okay, aka meaning if I built the church and found the church, I don't have to stay there as GS.
Exactly.
Geo forever.
But that's not the case in Nigeria.
But where does that leave our Twitter ban now that Jack Dorsey has gone? Is it a case of, you guys are on your own right now? Like, oh, Thank God for that government. In fact, blackouts for the next how many months?
That's what we don't know, because Jack has actually been very key when it comes to making the policies. Most of all the biggest policies that Twitter has actually embarked on. Jack has actually been very key. And Jack also faced challenges from his major investor Elliott, when they were thinking that probably he's a bit divided between two platforms, that is a Square platform, which he's a CEO of, and also his Twitter platform. But he was able to overcome that period. So people are still speculating that probably there's something linked to that. And is stepping down.
From an African perspective, clearly, perhaps Jack will be missed. Don't forget, he's tasted both Ghana jollof and Nigeria jollof.
I mean, he stayed in Nigeria for 6 good, Africa for 6 good months last year.
Okay. What's up next, Lizzie, on the trend wave?
Now we stay in Nigeria, where the Big Brother Nigeria Season 4 star Khafi Karim, in a recently released video, spoke about how she resented her husband and fellow reality star Gedoni Ekpata after they welcomed their first child in August 2021, of course this year. In the video, which was published on Khafi's YouTube channel on Monday, November 29, which was yesterday, she revealed that she and her husband were apart for most of the pregnancy and also during delivery alone. She confessed that she resented having to do pregnancy alone, and at some point feared that it was the beginning of the end of their marriage, also adding that for the first week or more after she gave birth on her own, she felt resentful towards her husband. Now let's watch this video.
I actually had a really strong resentment to you. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was so hurt that I was doing this by myself, and I think I was seeing you, like going out, having drinks with friends, and I was just thinking, gosh, like, I've just given birth and you're out there just having drinks with people. Like, it just felt very unfair. It felt very, I just felt very upset. Like, hey, I've just given birth. My body feels like it's gone through a train wreck. Do you know what I mean? And my husband is out there living his best life. And
Well, apparently everything she's referring to here has to do with postpartum depression, which is not something that is quite well spoken about enough amongst women, especially in this part of the world. And it's for people who don't know what postpartum depression is, it's a mix of physical, emotional, and behavioral changes that happen in some women after giving birth. While some are not actually aware of this, I would like to welcome Oluchi to this conversation.
I saw this comment.
Was she diagnosed with postpartum depression? Did she mention it in any way in the video?
She made mention of that. She made mention of that.
And from what she has just said and explained, that those are the signs that she was going through at that time.
The signs differ from person to person.
A lot of people, women who have given birth, go through, especially if it's your first child. For a first timer, it's almost the same similarities or features that you go through, where you feel you're alone, you feel your body has been through a train wreck, and it looks like everybody has moved on and you're just on standstill. But then we forget that it's life. Everybody needs to move on, and you also need to move on. Okay,
so she put the video out, and it's been trending.
It's been trending.
It's been trending. So she and her husband in that video, and I suppose that's the baby in question which she had. And she's talking about, how he was still having life, right? And going out with drinks.
Yes, he was still drinking with his friends and, enjoying his life. And which is also always the case these days, I mean, the men have to live their lives, but, postpartum depression might just, it might show in different ways from person to person. But this particular video has sparked up quite a conversation about what postpartum depression is. But let's take a look at the reactions that people are making about this on social media. Now, that's one from Benny Chigo. Benny says, all mothers can relate. I didn't sleep for days and he will be busy snoring away. It hurts so deeply, especially going through postpartum depression. And then we have one from Daisy. Daisy says, even during the olden days, the Igbos were fully aware of what postpartum depression is, and that's why we have Omugo, which was invested. Support is highly needed after delivery. This is an actual fact. And that's one from Steph. Steph says, men especially definitely need to go to the school of women PPD. Olisa, that is for you. And be physically and emotionally there for their women after, especially after childbirth. Good that people are sharing often, so we know that this exists and they are real. I absolutely agree with that one from Stephanie. And that's one from Motaya. Motaya says that issues like this should be spoken about. And it's not private. Let people share their experiences so that others can learn from it. Women go through a lot that is after childbirth. Sometimes it can take a toll on marriage. People need to be aware.
Very true. I totally agree with a lot of the comments that are coming from this tweet on social media. I know for one, for a first, that when I had my first child, for the first week, I had this spirit that was telling me, just throw this child against the wall and just, because you cannot sleep.
Well, the question here was, she was talking about the partner not perhaps being supportive there.
Yes, because I mean, she could not sleep. The guy was living his life, going to clubs. She was having sleep.
So the thing is, they were not actually in the same city at that time.
Okay.
Right? It was in Nigeria while she was outside Nigeria. So, I mean, it's not like he didn't want to be there. It just didn't feel like it, you know. Okay. Having FaceTime conversations is different from the person actually being physically present.
Okay. So just like my producer will say, bottom line, Olisa, when it's your turn, please try to be in the same space. But even if you can't, you can do more FaceTime, video calls, whichever emotional support you can give.
It's a good
That's
thing.
my hashtag
it's a good
bottom line.
Central question when. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz.
It's my pleasure.
Comes to Trend Wave.